morning. Yes, it is morning because I only go by specific time. Those of you across the pond, Eastern time, hey, whatever. No, whatever. Afternoon, evening, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, it's a flat Earth, anyways. Time zone's not really a thing. Let's all just have one universal time and call it a day. Anyways, what should we say? So, well, that's our catchphrase. Good morning. I don't know what the hell we're supposed to say. Good flat Earth, no time zone. Not. I did say I was very original for catchphrases.
A catchphrase for a Monday morning coffee?
But I do have coffee. Actually,
it's Monday.
Coffee. Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah, I could tell it's Monday.
That's the catchphrase.
It's Monday. It's Monday. Yeah, that's exciting.
Well, I mean, you can say it that way, or you can be like, "It's Monday," or you can be like, "It's Monday."
They say I'm quite loud. I don't know why. My mic's normal.
You were quite loud when you shouted. I wasn't awake yet. I am now awake.
You're awake. So between the coffee and yelling, that's how everybody should start their day, especially if it's a Monday, right?
Yeah, I think there's probably way too many people that actually start their day with a coffee in their hand with somebody yelling at them. It's pretty standard for a Monday.
I'll tell you right now, if it came down to like, hey, Steve, you have to give up either beer or alcohol, scotch or whatever, or caffeine or coffee, I'm like, I'll give it the alcohol, which I don't drink that much anyways, obviously, but I'm never going to give it my coffee. I mean, military people drink coffee. It's just you're going it for the rest of your life. You get used to it. You just have to drink coffee in the morning.
I'm not terribly big on coffee, but I also I enjoy tea. So I'll have like a tea in the morning, and then sometimes I'll have a tea after dinner, and then sometimes I'll have a tea when I go to bed. So, and I have different kinds of tea that I have at different kinds of the day. So I'm not just pumping myself full of caffeine all the time.
Oh, I do too. I got green tea. I got black tea. I got Tetley tea. I got Nestle tea. I drink like, for example, like the other night. Remember, I've been telling you I haven't been sleeping too great. The other night I had tea in here, hot tea. But usually what I'll do is I'll take hot water. I'll put about 5 tea bags in there, put some Sweetalo in it, and then put it in the refrigerator. And then, because hot water works better for tea bags, right? So then it'll sit in the fridge for a while.
Yeah, you steep it and turn it into sweet tea.
Yeah, steep it, and then I have a picture of it that I make. But it doesn't have the same caffeine content than coffee does, obviously.
Her name is escaping me. She's the astrophysicist. Has told me to pick up a type of tea that's called Australian Afternoon.
Karen, you talk about Kirsten?
Yes, thank you. And because she was saying that was break tea time on Twitter, and I had responded to her saying, "Ooh, that is a great idea," because I was just like finishing up doing something, and I'm like, I would love a tea break. What kind of tea should I have? And somebody said Earl Grey, and I was like, sold. And she responded with Aussie Afternoon, and I immediately was like, excuse me, what is that? And she's like, it's a Twinings tea. They probably have it. I'm like, I am going to have to hunt through my grocery store next time I'm there to see if I can find it. So
I like, okay,
looking forward to that.
And by the way, Kirsten Banks actually just recently got her own wiki page, so good for her. Yeah, good for her.
Her TikToks
she still kind of credits me for exposing her to the American audience, but it's like, please, the girl's she's gonna be an icon. She's gonna be like, I can't remember his name now. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, she could be the next one. She's great at explaining this stuff.
She is. She's a very good science communicator. She's very good at taking a complex subject and making it into like bite-sized little TikTok videos. They're fantastic. 10 out of 10. If you haven't seen her on Twitter, go check out her Twitter.
Go get yourself, if you have it up there, called Sleepy Time.
Mm-hmm.
Really good tea.
I've had Sleepy Time tea.
It's a type of Camille tea, a chamomile.
Camille.
But anyway, by the way, first of all, you're back. People may not have noticed you were gone for a while. If they didn't notice, why didn't they notice? Are you so unimportant to the community that people didn't notice she was gone? The rumors mills, starting. Super chat.
No, they only care if they can get attention. If I'm not around, they can't have attention.
I know you were denying them that.
How dare I? I must have been leading them on this whole time. They've been friend-zoned.
Want me to read the super chat? Or you got it?
Oh yeah, I got it. Helios for 5. I have 1 pot of coffee before 4 p.m. Then I switch to black tea until about 9 p.m. Then to green tea to / white tea until 1 a.m. It's quite the regimen.
With all that going to the bathroom, when do you sleep, Helios? That's my question. With all the bathrooms.
Yeah,
the point is that he doesn't.
Yeah, as you get older, you.
Oh, it's pronounced Twinings tea. My apologies. Twinings. Yeah, I called it Twinnings, but it's Twinings. Oh, it's just a brand. So what I'll do is next time I'm at the grocery store, whenever I get a chance to pick it up, I will try it the next Monday. So I don't know if that'll be this week coming up or next week, but whenever that does happen, I will make sure that you get my review live here.
Yeah, well, or you can do it on your channel, because you do a lot of stuff on your channel.
It's Caffeine Corner. I'm going to try out a new tea on Caffeine Corner.
Yeah.
I guess tea's caffeine. She's only been drinking tea the entirety of this show since its inception. Helios 5 for 2 says, "What is sleep?"
Yeah, I don't know. I gave it up for
called it. Yeah, I don't doubt that one. So I think we have a couple things we're going to cover today, and a lot of it is like definitions. A lot of it is words that need to be clarified for people, because a lot of people get these words wrong or conflate or use them interchangeably. And the ones I want to start off with, because you were talking about this last night, and it's the rocks are atheist thing. And I just want to, I've been in that Twitter thread having a little bit of conversation, and I've noticed that there is a little bit of a problem of misunderstanding or interchangeably using the word can't and doesn't. So obviously there's more to it, and communication is very, very complicated, but something that can do something and doesn't do something versus something that doesn't do something because it can't do something are not equatable. They are not the same thing. You can't say this chair is agnostic by such a broad definition that it doesn't because it can't. Not it doesn't because it doesn't want to. Or it doesn't because it doesn't know. It can't know. So if you say rocks are agnostic, are rocks agnostic? No. But you get there by saying, do rocks believe in a god? No. Do rocks believe, or no, I said that. Do rocks believe, what did I say? I said this right before we started. It's do rocks believe in a god?
Can't and unable to do
can't
something,
and don't, right? So you would say, do rocks believe in a god? No. Then you would say, can rocks believe? No. Are rocks atheist or agnostic? No. It's no to all of them.
A little bit. People that may not have watched yesterday, because you've been kind of in a Twitter, not war, but you've been in a Twitter conversation with Aron. By the way, you finally get a chance to talk to Aron. It's about rocks and atheism. It's like, really? Josh?
Yeah, it's yeah, that's the conversation I'm talking about, yeah.
I'll read this one. I am Moon, $10. What up, yo?
Oh,
blue heart, purple heart, green heart, red heart, yellow heart, orange heart. Yay!
I gotta turn your volume up on my end. You are a little bit quiet on my end.
That's fine. So we'll give a brief recap, then we're going to get into the topic because it does kind of dovetail into it. So just recently, Aron came out as a full RA rock atheist. So AR has become RA, I guess. I don't know why. I really don't. I cannot grasp why he thinks that's a good argument.
It's a bizarre hill to die on.
It really is. I mean, I wrote a blog. People know I write a blog. And I wrote a blog on it, right? And I know he's probably never going to read it, and I don't really care if he does or doesn't. But the whole point of the blog was basically saying, look, there's some reasons why we don't describe things this way. And if you're going to say like a rock is an atheist, you might as well say rock is a vegan, right? If you define vegan as somebody who, or if you define vegan as not eating meat or animal byproducts, that's not how it's typically defined. It's veganism is the abstinence of eating meat or animal byproducts, right? Vegetarian is somebody who has abstained from eating meat, right?
You're making a conscious choice. Yeah, you're making a conscious choice and a conscious effort.
Yeah, or at least somebody.
You have to be conscious to do that.
Well, I mean, I would make the argument that, let's say that you were living in let's say that you were in prison, you were in jail, and they only gave you a vegetarian diet. And I said, hey, Chesh, are you a vegetarian? You're like, no, I love meat, but they only feed me veggies. But you know what? You don't eat meat, so you're a vegetarian.
I can't, not right? I don't. Or I don't because I can't.
These words have usages, right? And we're going to get into a little bit about propositional content and what it's like to have a claim and what it is to say that I believe this or I believe that. But it does go into the fact that a belief can be either a propositional attitude or psychological state, and not believing something is a psychological state. Okay, you're stating to somebody what my psychological status is.
Right. Golden for Two says they are just stupid rocks, for fuck's sakes. Yeah, we spend way too much time talking about the epistemological positions of rocks. Boy of Ink for Two said those are mineral atheists. Yeah. So one of the things somebody said in that thread that was really, really bizarre, and they said that it depends on the intention of the rock. But they didn't mean the intention of the rock, because they were saying, right, they were saying the intention of the tool being the rock. So if somebody uses a rock, that's what and I was just like, so does that mean that the rocks used to build a church, like the bricks, are theist rocks?
Well, you notice something here, though? There seems to be a underlying theme here. You now have Aron Ra, who and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Aron has become the Ken Hovind of philosophy. I mean, he's great at biology, phylogeny, but he's the Ken Hovind of philosophy. He's literally that.
I can actually, I can explain this in a step-by-step when you're done, and I will explain exactly how that's the case.
So, but have you noticed that there's a consilience here? He has adopted Bionic Dance's ridiculous argument that rocks are atheist, right? I mean, and no sensible person would believe this. It's just completely stupid. But he's adopted this. He's also probably adopted T-Jump's
getting a lot of pushback
argument that rocks are immoral if a rock falls off a cliff and hits you in the head. Because T-Jump, and he has assigned morality to rocks as a moral agent or object of moral consideration, that if a rock violates your autonomy, he calls it the involuntary imposition of will, that if a rock falls off
it's gotten worse, apparently.
This has been going on for a couple months, that T-Jump has had this weird moral argument.
I know T-Jump's been saying this for a while, but now Aron's picked it up?
No, I don't know if Aron has, but you've noticed that rocks.
Oh, okay.
But you're dealing with Bionic Dance, and T-Jump, right?
They're correlating.
The worst people in philosophy that I've ever seen in my life on YouTube. And one thinks that rocks have agency and morality, and the other one thinks that they're gonna have a psychological status.
That in the chat just said, seems like Aron is stuck between an atheist and a hard place.
Ooh,
I like that. Let me lay out exactly why Aron is getting compared to Ken Hovind, because I don't want people to think that this is necessarily hyperbole or not, like there's a reason behind it. We're not name calling. This is like a comparison. So in Aron's dealings with Kent, one of his main contentions is that Kent saying that evolutionists say or teach that all life came from a rock. Aron has gone after Hovind about this for years, and Hovind has never been able to back up what he said with any actual documentation from a biologist that says this. And in doing so, Kent has now said that you've been shown to be wrong. It's been explained to you multiple times why you're wrong. You can't show anything from that field of academics that backs up what you're saying. Now you're a liar. Now, if we move to philosophy, Aron has been shown to be wrong. He's had it explained to him multiple times that he is wrong, and he cannot cite a source within that academic field. By those three things that are one-to-one, by his definition, he is a liar in the same way that Ken Hovind is, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's why I've said he's the
Ken Hovind in this situation. Unless somebody can explain to me how he's not Kent Hovind at this point, because that's a pretty one-to-one comparison.
Yeah, well, it's also he's always talking about making claims, right? Where people, on that side of the fence are always like, well, you've stated something, where's your evidence for it? if he says something like rocks are atheist, and this is going to get into the topic that we're talking about for propositional claim. If he says something like rocks are atheist, he's stating a truth condition. He's stating that it is the case because in his ontology, in his way of viewing what truth is, he defines truth as something that corresponds with reality. He's okay. That's fine to do that. It's correspondence theory. I don't particularly subscribe to it that much, but I mean, it's fine. But if that's the case, then you have to be able to ask him, okay, what makes that a true statement? What's your argument for that? What's your evidence for this? Right? Because as Cheshire pointed out, he's never cited anything on it. So I kind of want to.
I literally asked him last night while he was conversing with me on Twitter, and he didn't ever answer.
He never gave you anything, right?
No, he never answered. Yeah. He didn't provide in that entire thread that I saw that I was a part of. He did not provide a single link to external link at all.
Shocker. So Cheshire the other day, and we're kind of talking about what it means to be a claim and what it means to say what I believe something. And so I just kind of wanted to touch on that and get you guys' kind of point of view on it. I'll give you my point of view on it, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah, because it's a good carry on.
So when people say something like I believe, there's a couple ways of looking at it, right? One of it is an esoteric force, saying that you're affirming a propositional content to be true. So if I say like the proposition is the sky is blue, and I say I believe the sky is blue, you're affirming the proposition. You're saying that it is the state of affairs that the proposition content exists, and you're affirming that, right? You're sustaining that. But there are instances where that may not be the case. If I say, for example, like I believe your video sucked, right? That's not really an affirmation of anything per se. What it is I'm making a value judgment about your video. I'm saying that I believe that your video sucked. That is a psychological state, right? That's my state of mind. My state of mind is such that I believe your video sucked. So is there any kind of esoteric force that's being made there as a claim, right? Now I could be saying that, hey, look, I'm just giving you my personal opinion. I'm just doing something that's autobiographical and giving you my state of affairs, right? I'm just saying, even the propositional state, I can say, look, I believe the sky is blue. And you say, well, what's your evidence for that? I'm like, look, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not giving you an argument of why the sky is blue. What I'm doing is giving what's called an autobiographical or self-assessment of my state of my position towards a proposition. Or it could be my state of psychological state, right? My belief that your video sucks.
Yeah, you're making a fact about your
state, clearly.
Yeah, it's a fact about yourself. So if I say my favorite color is purple, that's a fact because that is a fact about myself, and you have to take that at face value.
It was called an incorrigible belief. An incorrigible belief is true because it's true because of essence and virtue that you believe that, right? So if you believe that you experience pain, you are experiencing pain. That's an incorrigible belief. Same thing with your subjective evaluations. If your favorite color is blue, I have no way to make an objective determination of that, right? But so
Team Skeptic. Hi, Team.
Blue. But
Team for 4 said, "Is your sugar daddy gonna pay for a new trail with Kyle when it's dismissed?" ?
New trail?
Yeah.
I don't know what new trail is.
You might mean new trial.
Oh, new trial.
It wouldn't need to be a new. Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. It's funny that he mentions that because I was talking to Cheshire before, and I talked to Reds and Bool. I don't know where the people get this idea from that all of a sudden, if he wasn't, quote, properly served, there'd be a new trial. The complaint starts from the complaint. It doesn't start from when he was served. It's the same case. He would just get reserved and we follow for a summary judgment. That's it. Pretty much it. Why did people think it would have to start all over again? And by the way, I don't know why Kyle would want to go to trial because he would have to come up with a $25,000 retainer for that, and that would make no sense.
There's layers upon layers upon layers of garbage and just incorrect wrongness in in one sentence of 7 different things. One of the ones that I enjoyed doing a lot was with OPT Lawyer, and that was over on my channel, and we actually went through the comment section on one of the Hangouts on Reds' channel. So when we were discussing one of these and reading through the documentation, the comment section with half of these accounts just not knowing a damn, we just laughed. There was like that one. There was some Lulu account, and they just did not know a damn thing. Like, we gave them the benefit of the doubt and everything, and we were just like, okay, but even if you're not just being an idiot, you're still contradicting yourself in your own. Oh God, I recommend it. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how about this?
I don't know where people are getting that whole new trial from. It doesn't work that way. Anybody knows law knows it doesn't work that way.
So to jump back to claims, the example that I gave comparing Kent to Aron, did I say that I believe Aron is a liar?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, you did. You just said it earlier today.
No.
Aron lied.
I
Aron
said
is a liar. You said it earlier.
But I said by his comparison of his own standard of that. Yes. So did I call him a liar, or did I say I believed he was a liar? Do I think that his definition, his original definition towards Hovind, is valid?
I didn't say. You're not directly calling him a liar like I have. I call him a liar. You're saying if you're holding to those conditions, if you're holding those definitions or usages by the same standards, he would be a liar by those standards.
Right. So by the standard that Aron set, if those conditions are met to Hovind and you apply those standards to what Aron is currently doing with philosophy, those standards are met. Now, it doesn't mean that I necessarily think Aron is a bad person. It doesn't necessarily think he's wrong in this. But what it does is it undermines his credibility in his standard and arguments against Hovind. That's something that it does do. Yep, we got 2. Godless Scummer for 5s. Do you like the song We Will Atheist You?
We might be able to work with that.
You might be able to work with that.
Atheist You.
It needs to be one syllable.
I can't sing.
Ilya Moon also for 2 says, here I am, atheist you like a hurricane.
I thought you guys
I wasn't ready for that. I didn't read that ahead of time.
I thought you like Rock of Ages or something. Rock of Atheist or Rock of Atheist. Rock of Atheist.
If we can start getting covers of just that replacement, somebody actually just starts splicing in somebody just saying the word atheist.
Did you see
tequila?
Somebody sent me that it was a rock monster. It's like atheist. I put, hey, the god of atheism. You know.
I think it's not. I think it might not be the real team. That's too bad. Team for 299. Cheshire Logic equals G-Man. And Boy of Ink for 2 says hard atheist hallelujah. Unless Team is just razzing me today for some reason. It could be.
Probably. He could be.
I didn't know Team dealt with G-Man.
He's just upset because he can't whistle. That's what's going on there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's upset because you tried to demonetize his channel by making 7 circles.
Okay, listen.
Hashtag Cheshire takes down Team Skeptic's channel.
I did enjoy way too much that immediately your fandom ran with that Chesh was a chess porn bomb team.
I know they did. I'm well aware of that.
That was so fun. And like I called it during the stream. I was like, this is gonna happen. And like it wasn't even 24 hours.
So
TomTom actually says, yeah, TomTom says that Aron's standards biting him in his own ass doesn't mean his standards are wrong. I agree, because I also didn't say his standard was wrong either. I just didn't say what my position was.
Yeah, but he is hypocritical on it because applying his standards, there's issues there. For example, Aron will always say,
don't tell the people that. We already did an episode on hypocritical. Let them figure it out.
Oh, go find it. Oh yeah, go watch the episode on hypocrisy. I don't understand why Aron is so gung-ho on asking for evidence for creationists and not applying the same standard for himself. I don't get that. It just makes no sense. I mean, he, like you pointed out,
it undermines your work, which is too bad.
Yeah, if Ken Hovind is arguing some absurdity, like let's say like we had a biologist right here, right? And Ken Hovind's arguing that life came from a rock. Clearly, the biologist, who's an expert, is thinking to himself, "This guy is an idiot. This guy's looking like a moron," right? I mean, that's pretty much any biologist would think that. So why doesn't Aron apply the same
Most
standard?
geologists would probably think that also.
Absolutely. But why are these rock atheists, because it's not just Aron, it's by like Dance and other people now have latched onto it. Why don't they think, hey, look, if a biologist thinks it's stupid for Ken Hovind to say the life came from a rock, maybe a philosopher telling them, hey, it's stupid to say that rocks are atheist, maybe they should take pause and try to figure out why, right? I mean, there's some reasons why. There's a lot of reasons why, actually. But
I have actually just realized that the guy that Aron was talking to was a geologist, right?
Yes.
So Aron is telling a geologist what rocks believe.
Or lack of belief.
Well, it's whether they do or don't, right? What they believe could be like they don't. But
you agree with this?
Can you imagine trying to explain?
But do you agree?
Could you imagine explaining to Caesar Milan what your dog is thinking? At least you have more to work with.
But he's making a statement, right? There's a statement of fact that he's making. When he says rocks are atheist, he is making the claim. He's not just doing an autobiographical assessment. He's not just telling you his psychological status, or he's not telling you his propositional status. What he's telling you is, it is the case in the world, the state of affairs are such that rocks are atheist, which means he's making a claim against the state of affairs. So when you ask him, okay, what is your evidence for this claim? You get nowhere. You get rhetoric. Matter of fact, it was kind of funny because Stephen had given a reductio ad absurdum.
Should I link the thread?
If you wish.
I'll get the thread for
It wasn't
everybody.
a formal abductio, but it was a principle. It was basically as an abductio saying, look, if you accept this, you got to accept that rocks are invertebrates because they don't have a spine. You got to accept that rocks are vegans because they don't eat meat.
I saw that. That was a good response. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, but you see Aron's response? He called it a fallacy.
He said it was fallacy. Yeah, well, that was the thing. I was just like, well, that's what I said. I didn't actually make a tweet about that, but I saw that and I was like, I don't think that's right. But at the same time, I was also like, the person is saying that this is a fallacy via absurdum is the same person who's saying rocks are atheists.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about but that actually is a fallacy, is it not? Because he's taking what people are capable of believing and not believing and comparing it to a rock to show how ridiculous it is to believe this thing.
I don't think there's a fallacy to be had there per se, but it's not. Look,
fair enough.
You read my blog, and my blog attacked it not from the validity of the argument, right? I basically gave what the argument was, but I showed the soundness of it to be questionable, the premises to be questionable, right? And Stephen did pretty much the exact same thing in a reductio form, though. He's like, look, if you accept the claim that rocks are atheist, then to be rational, or at least rationally, have a coherence in your ontology, is that you would accept that rocks are actually vegan if somebody defines veganism as somebody who doesn't eat meat and animal byproducts, right? But Aron's not going to understand that. Or rocks. What's the definition of invertebrate? Not having a spine, lacking a spine.
Rocks are invertebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these words convey meanings for somebody, right? They when I want to express something to somebody, I give a word. These words do not have any kind of intrinsic functions to them. They have no inherent meanings or value. They're just what we give it to explain to somebody something. That's it. That's all it is. It's just information. And so what is the point of conveyance that I'm trying to get across to somebody if I say rocks are invertebrates? It doesn't make sense, right? There's no sense of that word that would make it where a rational person would go, yeah, well, they lack a spine, therefore they are invertebrates. That's how Aron sounds to a philosopher. What's the difference?
TomTom makes a good point that says bullets equal atheists kill a lot of people. So I guess that undermines the entire argument that, well, atheism doesn't cause as much harm as religion does. Well, if everything that isn't a theist is an atheist, then atheists are responsible for, like, this house burned down and killed somebody. Well, that house was an atheist and that fire was an atheist, so that atheist killed 5 people in that house.
Yeah, well, according to him, it's so funny. And there's an argument. There's arguments against it, but he doesn't even restrict it to personage, right? He doesn't even restrict it to somebody, right? At least it would make a lot more sense to say, look, it is somebody that doesn't believe, right? Okay, again, I could argue against that clearly, but he doesn't even do that. It's like he's so myopic in that there's a strict dichotomy that exists such that anything that's not in this set must be in this set. And that would be the case if you're talking about the set of theist and not theist, right? I mean, if you want to say that everything that's not a theist is not a theist, that is a true statement. Now, there's a word for that, non-theist, but that word generally applies to people, right? It's just a word that we've used to describe elements of that set of non-theism. That's it.
Yeah, it has to have prerequisites. So that's actually something that
it's not a theist, correct? Either
right,
it
exactly.
is the case that it's a theist, or it's not the case that it's a theist. Well, it's clearly not the case that it's a theist. But I wouldn't call this a non-theist. I mean, it would be in that set, but it's a nondescript label.
Your cup is invisible, my man. It doesn't even exist, period.
Sorry. There you go. Smug.
There you go.
Smug.
So Dragon brings up what we're kind of getting at here. It says, rocks do not believe in anything, therefore they don't believe in gods. If rocks don't believe in gods, they are definitionally atheists. Is this logically consistent? So here's your problem. You have an issue with your core at the beginning, right? So it's logically consistent internally to go from point A to point B. However, your proposition at the beginning has to be coherent, and you've got an error in your first proposition. And it's rocks do not believe in anything. Rocks cannot believe in anything. This is where I was talking about when I said can't and don't. Cannot and do not are being used interchangeably. They cannot believe in anything. Therefore, they cannot apply as atheists, because as atheists, they need to have the prerequisite of being able to review the information. And being unable to review the information, they cannot be atheists, and therefore they can't, they cannot understand anything, period. Now, there is a classification, and me and Feline were talking about this I don't want to say quite expensively, but for like a little bit. And it's the being innocent. There's already a terminology in philosophy that talks about children and somebody who's had some kind of mental or brain injury that did believe and now no longer believes because they no longer have the information or are unable to now process that information. They go as innocence. So a baby doesn't apply. A baby and a rock are not equivalent in this case. One cannot and one currently does not, but will be able to.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would want to anthropomorphize the rock anyways. But yeah, to her question, is logically consistent, but then again, I can define anything to be logically consistent. I can say that the word dog means, a type of feline. Okay, so all dogs are now felines. That's logically consistent. All dogs are cats. Logically consistent. Does it get you anywhere? No, these are called semantic arguments, right?
Yeah, this is the problem that I described earlier. Yeah, so if you were to say that a pine tree is a tree, if it's a tree, it's a pine tree, therefore all trees are pine trees. Well, no. Yeah, because that's useless. But if you only make the definition of a pine tree, is it that it needs to be a tree? Then you're correct. Yes, technically, yes, all trees are pine trees if the only prerequisite is being a tree. But that's not useful. It's not helpful and comes with a lot of problems when you're trying to buy furniture and you want pine or you want oak. A Golden Unicorn for Two said, then they conveniently use lack belief for rocks. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, I try to explain that a sufficient definition for something, a good definition, actually requires both what's called necessary preconditions and sufficiency conditions. Okay, that's generally in linguists what people say. Hey, what makes a good definition for something? If you're going to prescribe it, right? And again, I don't really go to prescriptive definitions, but if you want to say, look, what makes something a good definition? It has a sufficiency condition and a necessary condition. And I've always argued, and I had a debate on this not too long ago, why lack of belief is not a sufficient condition. It is a necessary, but it doesn't meet their criteria for sufficiency. Just like I was saying, if we were saying, what is a necessary condition to be human? Well, a necessary condition is that they're multicellular. Okay, but is that sufficient? No, because if I just say, hey, I have an object here, it's multicellular. Can you deductively determine that is a human? No, of course not. But if I have if I have a set of conditions right? For humans, like the bipedal, they're multicellular, they're chemoheterotropic, they have internal digestive system, all this stuff. And I say, look, my sufficiency condition is all these set of conditions are met. Steve meets all those conditions. Therefore, deductively,
Right.
Steve is a human, right? That is a sufficiency condition, right?
Well, it's interesting because
so,
if you look at, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and so when people define things in the negative, that only really describes a necessary condition. It cannot be a sufficiency.
It doesn't tell you what it is. Yeah, it tells you what it's not what it is.
Okay, so I say, hey, Cheshire, you don't believe in God. Okay, that's necessary to be a non-theist. That's sufficient to be a non-theist. Okay, so I know you're non-theist. I can deductively tell you're not a theist, right? Not that difficult to do.
Correct.
But I want to know what your actual position is. Now, Aron will just say, look, that's necessary and sufficient. I'm going to call it atheist. But all he's done is...
I don't believe in God, why should I?
And he's just done a semantic substitution and said non-theist equals theist. That's it. Or non-theist equals atheist. That's it. That's a semantic substitution.
Which is where you start running into problems, like you do if you start calling all trees pine trees. You alienate a whole lot of trees if those trees don't like being called pine trees.
Yeah,
imagine trying to do that with could you imagine the trouble you would run into if you started trying to have this discussion in like SJW circles about like somebody's gender?
Same kind of principle, right?
The same kind of principle, absolutely.
But again, using the whole vegan thing, if I say, hey, Cheshire, do you eat meat? And you say, no. Okay, that's a necessary condition to be vegan or vegetarian, right? But is it sufficient? No, because I don't know I don't know. You just may say,
yeah.
I like eating meat, and occasionally I have it. I don't know. I mean, I don't. Well, for example, like I said, if you're a prisoner, right, and I say, do you eat meat? And you say, no. Well, because they're not giving me any, right? They're not giving me, but I'm not a vegetarian. I like to eat meat, right? There's a lot of nuance there. There's lots of conveyance of what we're trying to get across to somebody when we hold these particular positions. When somebody says they're a vegetarian, we know they're abstaining from eating meat, right? It's not merely that they don't eat meat. It is the fact that they have abstaining from eating meat and they only eat plants kind of thing. So, I mean, why they want to water down these terms, I don't know. I really don't. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Well, we kind of talked about that before, didn't we? We talked about that before, like the why, because this is the more meat of that conversation. Once we can get past that, at least get the position right and acknowledge that the position has problems. If you still want to use it, that's fine, but don't say that other people are wrong when they're not wrong. And then on top of that is, again, if you want to use that, be sure that you're going to have to backpedal and adjust it and explain to people what you're referring to all of the time, but don't say it's the standard. Don't say it's what's to be expected. And then you can get into the meat of these questions. Why should you use one definition over another? Can you justify in philosophy using the word atheist in this manner? The same way you could justify using the word faith to mean this or this. Faith in like the trust sense, like I have faith that my husband's not going to cheat on me, is backed by evidence. It's not the same, or experience. It's not the same as saying that, oh, I have faith in a God because I'm using faith to mean that I'm using it interchangeably, and where you run into problems. It's the same thing with theory. You don't go ahead and say, "Oh, well, I have a game theory. I have a theory about this, or I have a theory about Manos, the Hands of Fate," and say that, "Oh, well, it's the equivalent of evolutionary theory, or evolutionary theory is just a theory. It's just a guess." Well, no, and the same thing applies to atheism in philosophy. It's not just this one thing. It is also these things. Because if you make it just this one thing, you've now encompassed music theory, theories that just people chatting, scientific theories, etc., etc. Same problem. I'm married to chat. We also got a super chat from Boy of Ink for 2 that says, "But how do you get an elephant from a pine tree?"
Yeah, but I think
they're the same thing.
On that, though. You definitely make a great point on that. That if you start using the word like theory to include all these other things, it's like, haven't you lost precision? Haven't you watered down a term where it has no conveyance of anything of importance? That's why I don't understand why people want to do these with certain types of terms.
It's a bizarre term hill to die on.
It really is, and but again, look who Aron's getting his philosophy from. I mean, he's not getting it from people that know philosophy.
Well, it's also a bizarre thing because Aron, as far as I know, has never said that he's studied a lot of philosophy. I'm not mistaken. He said the opposite. He said that I'm not very well versed in this, and then goes on to explain what his position is. But if that were the case, and if that is the case, I'm assuming that is the case. I'm going to take him at face value for that. But why would you then argue with people who actually study philosophy? Why would you not defer to the experts? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, in the past, Aron has said that, well, I'm not a geologist, so I'll defer to a geologist. Well, I'm not a philosopher, so I'm going to defer to philosophy. Like, why would you not? Why is philosophy so compartmentalized in this case to be treated under different standards?
Oh, that's simple. He doesn't like it. He thinks philosophy is a tool of people to use as a weapon, as a cudgel against something, because that's what he's used to. He's used to theists doing that. And by the way, they have. I'm not going to say that they have.
Oh, I'm not going to fault him for that one.
But the whole thing about philosophy is about reason, right? It literally is the study of reason and logic and knowledge and what exists and what, even if you start talking about things like time is a philosophical concept, right? And so he doesn't seem to understand that philosophy is the underpinning of things that he talks about quite a bit, especially when it comes to science.
Well, that's the same. This is the same as people who say that we're talking about religion, not philosophy, and everybody goes,
yeah, we're talking about God, not philosophy. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't theology part of philosophy? Of course it is. If you say, look, if the question is God exists, you're talking philosophy. Exist is existential. Existential is metaphysics. Metaphysics is philosophy. I don't know how you can get around it. There's no possible way. But Aron doesn't like talking about it. Instead of learning the topics properly, he's been indoctrinated. This is the Church of New Atheism, TM trademark. This is the indoctrination that he has, that he's convinced himself, or people have convinced him, that the usages of these terms in philosophy has been actually put forth by theists. I
find it bizarre that he shuts down and essentially refuses to have this conversation with somebody who would actually be.
He's never had it with me because he knows he'll get annihilated, and he doesn't. Well, why would he bother? Because the first question I'm going to ask him is, "Where's your evidence for this?" Because he has nothing.
Well, the reason why
I have loads of evidence.
Well, the reason why I would say that, though, is because you would see him saying the same thing to other people. Hey, Kent, go talk to somebody who's a biologist. Hey, Kent, go talk to somebody. If you want to talk about abiogenesis, or you want to talk about the forming of the universe, talk to somebody who studies that. I study this thing. If you want to know about this thing, go talk to the expert there. So I don't know why you would want to shut down conversation, particularly with an honest interlocutor. I mean, to be fair, at this point, you would probably shred him and not necessarily be so nice about it, but it's been like a year or two to get to that point. It wasn't like you started there.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've gotten to the point where, I've been pretty, I guess, passive for the most part. I mean, I had a little bit of a sophistic blog that I wrote in response to him when he met.
Yeah, but so did he. that was both of you.
But here's the thing. His blog, but even people that told Aron, hey, dude, your blog was just bad. It was just bad. Mine was at least, I think, pretty good. But I mean, he's actually lying. I mean, Aron's straight up lying. I'm not going to just pull punches any longer, right? I mean, I think I've gone along enough where I can. Yeah, I think I've earned that right to say, look,
I can't say I'm in any position to defend him.
I put my shit on the table, right? I write a blog. I've had people review it. I've had Malpass read it. I've had Dr. Josh Rasmussen review it. I had Ozzy review my last one. I had people read my shit to make sure that I'm not extremely far off base, right? And by the way, it's not name dropping. What it is I trust the experts, right? I go to people that know what the fuck they're talking about, so they can say, hey, Steve, you screwed the pooch on here. Why don't you fix your shit? Or, hey, you know what?
Well, you're checking. You're getting peer reviewed.
Well, it's not really peer reviewed. It's basically just I want people to make sure. Like, for example, I have my editor.
It's not technically peer reviewed because they aren't your peers. Right. Oh my god. Team for 499 says, I bet Cheshire won't debate Aron Ra, but will armchair her position from her mom's house.
You're right.
So here's the thing.
She might. I would watch that.
Okay, so here's the thing. If Aron were to want to come and debate me about this, I would be a piss poor. That would be sad on Aron's part. He has got so many people that are actually philosophers that he could get to have this debate and this conversation. If he's going for me, that's like some low ass hanging fruit. Like, I'm a short motherfucker. Like, yeah. Why would you want to talk to me about it? That's bizarre to me. That's like this is like somebody with like 4 black belts and a Marine background saying, hey, you can't have higher than a blue belt to fight me. Why would you not want to fight somebody or debate somebody on your level?
I mean, he had this discussion
on your
with
level
Ozzy,
or higher.
And Ozzy destroyed him. I mean, literally destroyed his arguments in real time. It was. And what's worse is I didn't recognize how bad he really looked. He didn't get it.
Well,
I mean,
it's not
saying. Well, he was sitting there saying that definitions have been changed because theists have changed and it's like, dude, you sound so conspiratorial. None of that's what you said is true, and he provided no evidence for it.
Quite frankly, I'd be honored to debate Aron on this topic. I just think I'm a piss poor interlocutor in this case. Like, I'm not a good person to do that job. However, if it were offered to me or if it was brought up, I would be more than happy to do that. However,
said what? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you paused. No, go ahead. There's a hell of a lot of lag today for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's because it was probably on my end. It's kind of stormy out.
Well, you're Canadian. I know it's on your end. Yeah, there's literally like a second lag. But go ahead, finish your thing.
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying that there's a. I would be more than happy to do it, but I don't think it'd be very conducive. But hey, if that's going to be something that's going to entertain people and it's going to be something that people actually want to see, and Aron is willing to do it, again, I'm probably still going to call out that I'm not the person you should be talking to. However, if I'm the only person you're going to talk to, I will take that opportunity. Come on to Non-Sec. Come back to Non-Sec, and we'll have that discussion there when it's ready.
Negative Exponent says, what do you think of... Negative Exponent sent me some quantum eraser crap, and I looked through it. I'm not going to waste my time with it, to be honest with you. If you really want that like gone through, and by the way, quantum eraser is just... Something's wrong with that dude. I mean, just straight up mental. But send it to Team Skeptic. He loves that kind of crap, man. He'll waste his time with that because that's what he does. Team
is supposed to be setting me up with like that one super misogynistic guy that was saying that Dragon Ball Z is an allegory for Jesus or Nephilim or some shit, and I'm waiting on that. So I mean,
I have no idea what
until he's ready to do that, I don't know if he's much in a position to talk shit.
Yeah, it sounds like something.
No, it was somebody else. It was like a whole new guy.
Yeah, see, Aron has a lot.
That was the guy who's like, I want to fight Ronda Rousey. I kick her ass because she's a girl.
I have no desire to have this discussion with Aron, except for the fact that it would be nice to get it all on the open. But for me to do something like that,
that's why I think I would be willing to do it like that.
I know Aron would never do such a thing, right? It just never happened.
Oh, yeah.
But for me to even consider something like that, I would have to have a moderator there that knows the topic, that doesn't let him dodge. I would do to him what he did to Kent Hovind. Because I want to make sure that he doesn't dodge the questions, because he did this with Eric Hernandez, on the topic of the soul. He didn't have a clue what the hell Eric was talking about. And so if I would have a discussion with Aron on his absurd understanding of philosophy, I want somebody there that can actually hold his feet to the fire, because if not, he's just going to try to, do his aggressive stance, right? That's what Aron does. When Aron gets backed against the wall, he just goes aggressive. He did the same thing when Godless Girl tried to run Photo's argument against natural selection against him. It was Godless Girl and Realistic Nihilist way back in the day. And I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm like, Aron, just stop. Just shut up, please. They're going to use this against you because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And let me give this piece of advice to people, because I apply this in my own life, right? Because I had somebody ask me the other day, hey, Steve, you want to do a debate on this or discussion on this? I said, look, I don't know about this topic to even begin to. right? If you don't understand the argument, don't try to refute it by just making shit up. It doesn't do anybody any good. And Photo's argument is not an
Well, that's one of the reasons why it would be better to talk to somebody who's far more well-versed. It is better to speak with somebody who knows. Like, the only reason I would want to or be willing to have this discussion with him is because, one, I don't know why he wouldn't talk to me, but two, I would be honored to get the opportunity to sit in the same room and chat with him, even if I disagree with what he's saying, because disagreements about these kinds of things don't make or break whether or not somebody is whatever. Like, that's fine.
I would totally watch that too, but why? See,
it would be interesting to actually get the position and the opportunity to speak out in the open, like you were saying. And on the other hand, it would make a great dumpster fire for non sequitur. It sounds great.
What I don't understand is this: when Aron says something to the effect that he even said Steve's fans have Steve's fans have basically showed him is wrong. This dishonest lawyer has showed he's wrong. Of course, he didn't call him dishonest. I do, but
I mean, to be fair, we've been calling them your toxic fandom, so I guess they would count as your fans.
Fair enough. So where's the evidence? Because I've never seen anybody write a proof that I was wrong. I've never seen anybody write a blog where they showed that I was wrong. Aron's blog was crap. It didn't address any of my arguments. None.
I will wear this hat when talking with Aron.
And so I challenge them. I'm like, look, if you think my WASP argument is flawed somehow, or my gumballs and God is flawed, all you got to do is show it, right? I mean, it's not that.
Well, we had Snake was right on, and we were able to. We had Snake was right on, and we were able to reach. Yeah, we got on the same page, and we're nice. We're not gonna bite, probably.
But
He'll be a dickhead, and we won't.
Here's the thing. Chester, if I say to Aron, okay, Aron, you think, by the way, he even admitted he didn't disprove me. Somebody else did. Okay. If you think somebody else disproved me, what is my argument and how did I get disproved? Aron cannot even explain my arguments. So if he cannot explain my arguments, how does he know my arguments are wrong?
Well, on the other hand, too, you're running into if he's going to say it's an appeal to authority, as I've seen people say, I don't think I've seen Aron say this, but some other people have said that it's an appeal to authority and a fallacy that you're citing these people. Is Aron not then appealing to an authority to say that, oh, well, this person did it, go to them?
He's appealing to somebody who doesn't know philosophy. Matter of fact, somebody
right, it gets worse.
Inept, right? Yeah.
I
don't know any philosopher that takes his references seriously. I just don't. I mean, if I find a philosopher, for example, like that says, "Hey, man, that T-jump, man, that dude really knows his shit," I want to talk to that guy.
So
I want to talk to that guy.
How does this?
I really do.
How does this fall into belief and knowledge, though? Because we went back to belief and knowledge and then steered back. So if we go to the difference between to me, it seems that people use it interchangeably. To say that you know something, or to say that, oh, hey, I know that, or if I make a claim of a fact about myself, some people will, instead of saying they know something, hedge that by saying I believe. So they want to say I know, but they're not confident in their position, which I think is something that we talked about with Snake.
But they're not wrong. Right? If I say I believe 2 + 2 is 4, okay. I mean, sure. That's true, right? It's a true statement. But I also can say I know 2 + 2 is 4. And by the way, by saying I know 2 + 2 is 4, that entails I also believe it as a condition of rationality. If you're using belief first theories of knowledge, which is most common, right? Justified true belief is that you believe the proposition is true, you're justified to believe the proposition is true, and the proposition is true, right? So you meet those conditions, you can say you have knowledge of something. But you're right. A lot of people will say, look, I rather state it as a belief than a knowledge claim. Okay, fine, right, whatever. But what I think happens is, I had a guy the other day, he arrogantly was commenting on my thread, and he's like, knowledge is not a subset of belief. There, I fixed it for you. And I'm like, you're done. Just you're done.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, what?
You don't get off first base with me. If that's the level you're at, and you're gonna come at me sideways, you don't get to play. You don't get to sit at the table.
That's just a waste of your time. Are you really going to argue, like, waste time arguing something that's such like a standard?
It's a waste of everybody's
time.
I'm not going to bother with.
I know a guy, and I asked him today, like earlier today, because I recently just found out that he took philosophy in college as part of his courses. So I asked him those questions about rocks that I asked earlier. Do rocks believe in a god? Can rocks believe? Are rocks atheist? And he was just like, no, and no. Why are you asking me this? And I was just like,
well, because well, I had the same thing. A friend of mine, Dr. Gary
101 base philosophy class. He wasn't advanced.
Sisyphus redeemed. He was like, I don't even know. He's like, I don't even understand any of this argument because it's all just rhetoric kind of stuff. And I was like, well, dude, it's not about the semantic argument. What it is when somebody's making
we can't even get to the semantic argument.
Yeah, when people are making categorical statements like rocks are atheist, I'm gonna like call that out. And I don't think Sisyphus redeemed has a problem with that, but he's like, I don't think he fully understands the depths that these people are arguing, because to him it's probably unimaginable. It's like, why would somebody argue that rock's atheist? Well, let me explain to you that, because he doesn't have those people in his circles, right? And most philosophers
you run
into that's pretty stupid. Who argues that? I've had people tell me, literally, I swear to God, I've had people say, oh, Steve, you're lying. Nobody's ever argued that rocks are atheists. I'm like, really?
Dapper makes a good point. There are certain fields that completely ignorant people seem justified in pontificating on. Philosophy and economics seem to be the big ones.
Oh, I don't touch economics. Yeah, that's for damn sure.
I do not know. I like discussing like a little bit about political and economics, but I'm not gonna say I know something about it. I just like the conversation because I think it's interesting and I learn things.
I mean, I do a show on politics.
I'm the same way with politics. I have opinions, but I also I'm not going to tell somebody else what they should think.
Yeah, I can't do the economics thing. I'd be way out of my weight class. And then
especially somebody in another country.
I don't know why people don't do that. Look, again, even as a layperson, we all have our things that we have an interest in. Doesn't mean we have an expertise in it, because I certainly don't, but I have an interest in certain things. So if I have an interest in it, there might be a reasonable argument to be made that I probably know a little bit more about certain topics than a layperson who's not interested in those topics. I think that's
so. If somebody says that they believe that rocks are atheists, not they know that rocks are atheist, or that they're just making a statement that rocks are atheist. If they put that caveat, I believe that rocks are atheist, where does that leave us?
Okay, well, there's two different ways of looking at it. Again, if I say I believe rocks are atheist, right? I could just be stating my psychological position on that, right? But in speech act theory, generally speaking, when you have I believe, it means to affirm. You're making you're making a statement that you are asserting the case. So if I say I believe rocks are atheist, you're asserting as a claim it is the case in reality, in the state of affairs of the universe, that rocks are atheist. That's all. You're just affirming the proposition rocks are atheist is a true statement, right? So that's propositional belief, right? So
sure.
I mean, I generally, when I hear people say I believe, I take it propositionally, because I don't think they're really trying to relate to me their state of affairs of a psychological condition. But not always. Like I said, if I say, hey, Chesh, I believe, your hair looks nice today. That's a value judgment.
Thanks.
Right? By the way, I'm sexually harassing.
Yeah,
there you go.
There's also a difference between something that is you're making an evaluation, or if you're making something that's very subjective, versus if you're making a statement that's not quite so subjective. Rocks being atheist isn't really a subjective thing. They are or they aren't.
He's stating that as something that is affirming the proposition that rocks are atheists, is there's an objective measure to be had that we could probably go check into, right? Now, again, some things are not objective. I could say Cheshire is in pain. Okay, there's an objective fact of the measure to be had there, but her pain is subjective, right? I have no way to validate that statement, right? I can't. I said there's no way to experience that to verify, right? I can't experience her pain, but it's an incorrigible belief that she thinks if she believes she's in pain, right? It's just. But
if I go to the doctor, I'm just gonna get told that I'm just a stressed out woman and I need to take some pain pills and go back to bed, especially if it's abdominal pain.
Yeah, he's just going to give you some good stuff, though. At least you get at least you get some good meds. But yeah, so I mean, like, again, I just want to make it very clear to people when you say certain things. Like, I'll give you an example. In deflationary theory, if I say it is true that the sky is blue, okay, that deflates to the sky is blue. There's no difference in the statements. It is true that the sky is blue as opposed to the sky is blue, because in deflationary theory, there's no truth maker to be had. Merely the statement, the sky is blue, it is exactly the same as saying it is true that the sky is blue. There's no distinction between the two.
So what we should do is we should see how can people apply this to their like family, friends, or work conditions. So in a working environment, to change I know to I believe that, does that potentially protect you if you're talking to your boss about something?
I don't think so. If you're hedging your bets, I mean, yes, we some people do try to use belief. Look, I'm just saying, you know, I'm not saying it's the case. I just believe it to be the case. Well, think about that. I mean, Lily, think about that. If I say, look, I'm not right. arguing that. I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying that as a belief. What they're trying to tell you is they're trying to kind of weasel out a little bit in these discussions and saying, look, I'm just giving you my psychological state of my position, or I'm just giving you a self-assessment. And that's okay in some cases.
The worst is when that's a lie. The worst is when that's just a straight up lie. You assume at the beginning, but if they say that I believe this thing, I believe that the sky is purple, and then you have a 3-hour discussion with them on Twitter about this, and then they say, oh, well, I was actually just giving you my opinion. It's like,
yeah, that's a little dishonest.
Why didn't you say that at the beginning then, asshole?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to go into this discussion.
Waste my time.
What you're getting yourself into, right? I mean, if somebody just says, hey, hey, Steve, 1 + 1 = 3. And I say, what? Why, what's your reasoning for that? And they say, look, that's my belief. I'm not going to try to persuade you of it. I'm like, okay, have a nice day. And we walk separate ways, right?
Right. And then you start running like, well, why did you bring it up in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of odd. Which is
that's actually part of the social construct. So that's when we start actually getting into the social construct of a situation where if you go into a discussion about politics and somebody says let's say it's a good example is the that guy who was getting in trouble because he used the R word, right? They were having a discussion about language and semantics and about what I don't remember what should and should not, and how a word should or should not be used. Yes. And then somebody came in sideways, completely accusing the person of sexual impropriety. And then so if you were to do that and then say, oh, well, I was just giving my opinion about this person, why? Why would you? Right, exactly. That's so like, not only were you not part of this conversation, you weren't tagged or anything, but you've come in with something that's completely unrelated to what's being discussed, whether it's true or not. And if you were to then go on to say, hey, I was just giving my opinion about you, you're making you're also kind of making an accusation with your opinion.
Well, no, they are making an accusation. Okay, there's generally speaking, an opinion is something that's usually
subjective,
in some ways uninformed, right? An opinion, generally speaking, it doesn't necessarily have to have any real rationalization to it. You can have a false belief as an opinion, right? But when I say I give my opinion, it is it's my subjective evaluation, sure. But even still, if I say I believe the sky is blue, I'm giving my opinion. That is my opinion. The sky is blue, right? Is that not the case? I mean, that literally is my opinion. The sky is blue. I mean, but we've used the word opinion such in common general parlance, I think, to be, well, I'm not making a claim the sky is blue.
It's a little bit vague.
My opinion, my uninformed opinion, right? Because generally speaking, opinions are uninformed in the most case. But still, I mean, you can have an informed opinion, right? I mean, so the sky is blue. I'm giving you my informed opinion about this.
Right.
But when it's funny when a theist jumps into a conversation and says, hey, Jesus rose from the dead, and the atheists jump on him and say, well, what's your evidence for this? Oh, I'm just giving my opinion. They'd be all over that, right? They'd be like, you know.
Well, something that's been kind of actually interesting and nice to see is Aron claimed, and this was a claim, that a lot of your followers have said that you're wrong. But if you look at the thread, he's just getting pushback, like a lot of pushback. Yeah, and there's a couple people in there giving him pushback that, as far as I know, are not fans of yours.
Well, and also, did you notice that I had a vote on this? And I have a lot of toxic fandom that do follow me on Twitter. I've tried to get rid of as many as I can, but it's nearly impossible. I think 30% said I was wrong. Did you notice not one person left a comment on how and why? Even though I said, let's see what happens. I was like, I guarantee the people that say that I'm wrong will never give you evidence for it. And they proved my point. They literally proved my point because not one of them even tried. Not one. Right. And so if you're a fan of mine, and I use that term really loosely, by the way, just, you know, somebody who watches my shit, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care if you like me. It's just if you watch my shit, and you think I'm wrong, okay, can you show me?
And if the best you've got is quote mining, then
and by the way, which I think is funny as shit, because Hovind will call out a creationist for quote mining, but he won't call out a dishonest lawyer for doing it. And it clearly...
Oh, Aron, you mean, not Hovind. Yeah. You mean Aron would call out Hovind for quote mining, but wouldn't call out...
Aron would call out Hovind.
Didn't call out his source on it, yeah.
He doesn't call out a source for clear quote mine. What's the word that starts with an H we did a topic on the other day? Yeah. I mean, so...
I can't remember that far back. My IQ's too low. I'm still only at 63 because I put glasses on.
It's just weird, though. It's just weird that he's fine with his, you know, if it's one of his own, quote mining is okay. What do we call that? Tribalism, right? I mean, that's exactly what tribalism is. Oh, well, you know what? This group, they can't do it. I'm gonna call that creationists when they quote mine. But you know what? Here's somebody who appears to have defeated Steve. Therefore, I'm going to support him, even though it was clearly a quote mine. That has been explained, which, by the way, I did at the time, and somebody else actually even did a worse quote mine, Cheshire. A very dishonest person on the internet who we all know as a LARPer. All they did was take the first sentence on what I wrote.
You see the same thing all the time. You see it regularly in the comics section about the secondhand smoke's not a thing. They didn't even do the whole sentence. They took out the first half of that sentence. They completely just drop off the whole other half and the context that it was said in. If you want to talk about quote mining, you want to talk about absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I ask you honestly too. I mean, don't you think it kind of proves our point when we talk about how people do dishonest things, and quote mining is definitely, I think, something to be. Well,
it's a matter of recognizing it, right? Recognizing when somebody's saying, "Hey, I believe something," and then being like, "Well, why are you bringing it up then?" And part of that context. Or if somebody says, "I know something," and then how do you go from one to the other? Because you can believe something because you know it, but if you don't know something, you can't believe it. If you're unaware. As in if you're unaware. Okay. Like you don't know because you don't. Right.
See, that's the sense of the word,
you see how you're immediately running into problems, right, with the word "no." So do you know something as in it's a fact and that is the way it is? So I know that my favorite color is purple. Yeah, I can know that about myself. How do I prove to you though that my favorite color is purple?
Yeah, that's the problem with the incorrigible beliefs. It's how do you prove to somebody that's the case, right? You just have to accept somebody's. If you say that your color is purple, I have to accept that be the case as a principle of rationality, or at least for rational discourse, that you're telling me the truth, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think it would even make sense to me to argue that's not your favorite color? Which, by the way,
no. It would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. No, I'm just using it as an example.
You know what my favorite color is? Let's see how much well we know each other. What's my favorite color?
I have no idea. I don't care. Kidding. Oh God, is it pink?
Okay, no, but that's not a color. That's true.
I agree. Pink is not a color.
Color that's a specific wavelength attached to it.
It's a shade. No, color's a shade of red.
My favorite color is black.
Yeah, but it's not a color.
It's not a color. It's a neutral. It's the absence of color.
Yeah, so you gotta pick a different one.
No, it's still. Hey, look, it's on the color.
It's allowed to be my favorite. Damn it.
Yeah, Golden Unicorn $2.
I was actually gonna say gray first, but then I got sassy with the pink.
please. He blindly parroted the source. Why not bothering to check? Of course he didn't check. Of course, Aron doesn't check his references if they agree with him. He just parrots it out there, right?
There was a blog I was looking at reading about something about Aron and history that you sent to me. Somebody wrote a blog about Aron not correct. Yeah, I guess this person had corrected him on like a list of things, but he only actually corrected one and excused the other ones, but didn't correct them. Because here's the difference: you can justify why you think something or why you thought something and still correct it. But if you justify it and don't correct it, it's just an excuse.
Yeah. Well, okay, I have a lot of respect for Tim O'Neill. I mean, he does what's called
I have excuses to be wrong.
And I had him on the show a few times. But he's somebody that knows history pretty well. And he corrected Aron on multiple different things. And Aron capitulated on one or two of them, I think, but not the rest. But again, Aron's understanding of history is about as I'm not a historian, so I'm not going to evaluate this. But according to Tim, Aron's Kent Hovind level of history. Same as and again, I'm not trying to evaluate him on philosophy either because I'm not an expert in philosophy. But
I mean, to be fair, nobody can be an expert in everything, but just don't pontificate about it. Don't tell other people they're wrong who know you better.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even mind that, to be honest with you. Look, if you think somebody's wrong and they're an expert, call them out. But
no, I agree with that. It's not because it's more of if you don't know and if you don't know it or you can't show it and you don't know it, but you're going to go ahead and proselytize about it after being corrected over and over and over again, that's a problem. Just fix your shit.
Somebody had asked what he thinks isn't pink like a red with violet? The thing with pink is there's no correspondent wavelength for pink. It's actually a phenomenal thing in your mind. Matter of fact, all colors are in some ways, right? I mean, I'm a color realist, so I don't think that any color has ontology, right? I think all colors are phenomenal. If humans did not exist, colors would not exist. It would be a very black world.
This is a whole other conversation.
It's a whole different conversation, right? I mean, but even still, it goes to what we're relating earlier, though. When we're talking about we were talking about sense data at one time. My sense data of what I perceive as red is not going to be the same as yours, perhaps, right? And so my qualia is different than yours, right? And so my qualia is subjective to me. You can't experience my qualia. You can't experience my sense data. It's just not possible.
Did you see Jim? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say there's an experiment. I don't remember the guy that did it. It was a thought experiment. I think his name's, I'm going to say Jackson, but I'm probably butchering that. But there's an experiment done, a thought experiment where you have somebody sitting in a room. I think her name's Mary or something. And she lives in a black and white world. Okay. So everything around her is black and white and shades of gray, right? But she's studying color. She's learning about colors by watching videos on it. She's understanding the concepts of how colors work. The photon hits the retina transmits a signal to the brain processes a phenomenon that's, but she's never experienced this. She's never experienced the qualia of what it's like to see a color. And then she leaves her environment. She for some reason goes outside or whatever. And now she sees color for the first time. And there's a question to be had on her sense data. Did she acquire any more information about what it's like to see color? It was just by merely experience qualia. Did she actually learn anything about what it's like to see red? And it's really an actually interesting experiment. I'll have to review it. It's been a while, but I don't know if anybody's heard that particular thought experiment before. But it deals with the fact that some people have argued that she's not really learning anything. She's not experienced any. She's experienced something, but the sense data itself it's just experiential. It's called I think it's called epiphenomenalism. No, wait, that's not it. I'm sorry. Epiphenomenalism is that. Well, is it? Shit, I gotta review this. The philosophy of mind's hard. I'm butchering the shit out of this probably.
Yeah, but at least you're willing to be corrected.
Oh yeah, no. Say, look, that's the funniest thing, man. I don't know. I will go on record again. The funniest fucking thing that people have tried to levy against me is I don't take correction. I mean, it's just like, really?
I feel like
the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's just, I don't take correction when you're wrong. Okay.
I get the feeling that the people who stalk you around the internet aren't stalking you well enough when they say things like that, because you take correction and you tend to take correction rather quickly. So maybe they're just missing it.
You know what? Treat Feline knows her shit. I swear to God, she's got such a diverse portfolio of stuff. Yeah, it's The Knowledge Argument by Frank Jackson. Mary's Room. Right.
Steve and I will
always.
Get the name
right? Holy shit!
Steve and I will always. Steve and I will always be at odds over how many commas to use.
Yeah, she loves her commas. I do use the Oxford comma. I'm making a list. Yeah, I do. I feel
like a tragedy of grammar is the poor semicolon.
Yeah, hey, Treat Feline, how the hell did you know about that argument? I'm just out of curiosity. But yeah, it's a knowledge argument.
Oh, me and Bent Hovind and Dapper Dino are on Wednesday going to go over Kent Hovind's he's trying to sue the government. So we're gonna read that article, and I'm super excited.
Maki says synesthesia is a puzzling thing. Yeah, actually, synesthesia is really kind of cool when you taste colors and hear sound, or hear colors, taste taste sounds, hear colors, things of that nature, where your brain is confusing things. And one of these days, I asked the other day for somebody who knows philosophy of mind to come and have a discussion with it, because it's one of the hardest damn freaking subjects out there, because the mind-body problem is one of the most interesting problems I think out there in philosophy. It's also the most difficult to understand, and I have a hard time with it. I straight up, it's one of those things that certain concepts I could wrap my head around, and I think I can explain them halfway decently. Mind-body problem is not one of them. It's very hard.
I can't read this. Raber sent me a link to a wiki article about Neil Harbison. I think I said his name right. It's all in. I think it's in German. I can't read this. So I'm gonna search it and find the English version.
I don't know who that is.
Spanish-born, British-Irish cyborg artist and activist for trans species right based in New York. Born July 27th, 1994. He's best known for being the first person in the world with an antenna implanted into his skull, and for being legally recognized as a cyborg by the government. His antenna sends audible vibrations through his skull to report information to him. This includes measurements of electromagnetic radiation, phone calls, and music, as well as videos or images which are translated into audible vibrations. His Wi-Fi-enabled antenna allows him to receive signals and data from satellites. Since 2004, international media has described him as the world's first cyborg or the world's first cyborg artist. In 2010, he co-founded the Cyborg Foundation, an international organization that defends cyborg rights, promotes cyborg art, and supports people who want to become cyborgs. In 2017, he co-founded the Transspecies Society, an association that gives voice to people with non-human identities and raises awareness of the challenge trans species face, advocates for freedom of self-design, and offers the development of new series and new senses and organs in community. Can we please get this person on? This sounds like some non-sequitur garbage.
I guess. Sure.
Here's the article for anybody who wants to look into this more.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Paul says Paul says so he's a Wi-Fi hotspot.
The question: he's only a Wi-Fi hotspot if he's sending out Wi-Fi to other people.
Maybe he is.
Yeah. Especially interesting for hearing colors. Yeah.
Yeah. Boyvink says there was an experiment where they injected virus into dogs, so it changed some of their color receptors to a different color, and the dogs adapt to it. Yeah, well, your mind does that as well. There's been an experiment where, as a person, they had a class take glasses that flipped everything upside down, and after wearing these things for a while, the brain automatically right-sided it up, right? So our brain tries to process data from the external world, And so I
Yeah,
don't even know what naive realism actually is. I don't know what the reality is. We always sense things through our filtered perceptions, and our perceptions of color is no different. I mean, I don't even know what it would mean to say there's an objective fact of the matter that a color is something very specific. Yeah, you can quantize it with saying, okay, it's this frequency and wavelength. But that doesn't tell you anything. That doesn't tell you anything about the qualia. It just tells you if it's this frequency, we're going to label it red. The experience of red is completely different, right? That's
so
only
there were
something that's found in a mind.
There are two people that started the foundation. The other one's name is Moon Rebus. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but Spanish avant-garde artist and cyborg activist, best known for developing and implanting online seismic sensors in her feet that allow her to feel earthquakes through vibrations. Since 2004, International Media has described her as the world's first cyborg woman.
Yeah, you ain't touching my feet with no implant. That ain't happening.
I want to be a cyborg.
Well, I have the book Human 2.0 that Dr. Fuzz Rana wrote. I haven't read it yet. I plan to, but I know kind of the gist of it because we had talked about it. And one of the questions I'd asked him is, how much do you think that a human could actually replace before, you just couldn't go any further, right? I mean, what is the minimum condition to exist? You can replace a heart, you can replace lungs, you probably have an artificial liver, but where's the threshold to say you can no longer exist, live? I don't know, right? I don't know what. So could you replace the whole body and just have the head, the mind?
The cyborg antenna is a sensory system created to extend color perception. That's so cool. This is so cool. Thank you for sharing this. I'm going to be reading for. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
Isn't cyborg just another name for transhuman?
Arguably,
augmentation.
It would be a what a would it be considered like a subclass or like a specified class of or not a class a specified class of transhuman?
To me, a cyborg basically transhuman. But where do you draw the line? If somebody has an artificial heart, are they a cyborg?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? I mean, there's never been really a line of demarcation for that. The tree feline says replacing the brain, but again, maybe we can place the brain. The brain is just a physical substrate, right? I mean, the mind itself and the brain may not be the same thing. I mean, there's
so you get into a huge question about what counts. Yeah, like what are you? You're more than the sum of your parts, right? So
what is the mind? I mean, that. There's a guy, and I can't remember his name. He came up with
it would be an unbroken. It would be an unbroken experience.
We have so much lag. We have so much lag today. But I can't remember the guy's name, but he came up with something called Mysterianism. And it's not the type of Trinitarian Mysterianism. But if I remember correctly, Mysterianism was a position basically that the mind is such that it compartmentalizes to the point where it cannot even understand itself, that the physical aspect of the mind, the physical construct we have of the brain, and the mind itself, it's the way the brain has evolved in evolution, has an inability to even understand the difference between the mind and the physical, right? So what is the mind? Is the mind just something that is strictly based upon physical processes, or is it more than that?
Well, the thing is that I would probably go down the line of thinking that I'm probably not right, but the way I would process this is that as long as the string of experiences remains unbroken, then it still counts. So if you replace the brain without interrupting and losing the culminative experience that this individual has had, then you would still count. But
so you can
how do you go
download
the other way? Exactly. Yes. But I'm totally like sci-fi.
Yeah, I don't think
nerding
that would
out
for what's called reductive reductive physicalism, where the mind itself is literally contingent upon physicality, right? That would be a more of
but what I'm saying is that if you had a technology that allowed you to replace a piece of the brain with a piece of the brain with a piece of the brain, or the whole brain all at once, if you were able to take the information that was in that brain and import it into an empty brain that you then put back into a body, then it is an unbroken experience, and therefore it is still that person.
Yeah, then
but you know what that means? It means there could be more than one. Yeah.
Yeah, you can clone.
So exciting. Save space.
Yeah,
that's a save state.
I mean, by the way, this
play
is a
Soma. Can somebody please make Steve play Soma? Please.
This is just merely a conjecture. This is not an argument that I'm going to posit. But to me,
neither of us are arguing right now. We're just speculating about stuff.
I don't think we'll ever get to the point that we can download a consciousness. I think a consciousness only can exist in a biological substrate as a brain. Again, that's just a conjecture. It's nothing that I'm willing to try to.
Yeah, I don't think I would agree with that.
But the reason being is because the mind-body problem is so profound, and if Mysterianism is right, that the mind itself cannot even comprehend. It has the inability to understand the compartmentalization between where the mind exists in reality as opposed to the physical substrate of it. I mean, is it something that could be extricated from each other? In order to download something, dualism would have to be the case, right? It could not be reductive physicalism.
I love this crap.
Because
the only way to know is to try it.
The mind from the body in order to download it.
Okay, so what about that guy? What about that Russian guy? What about that Russian guy who was having his brain transplanted into another body? Is he still going to be him at the end?
Brain, right? He's literally taking the brain, right? He's not downloading the information. He still has the physical substrate. Because, I mean, there's an argument he had one way or another, but if the mind is so contingent upon the physical aspect of the brain, then you have to have the brain in order to have the mind. You cannot emulate that. It has to be exactly the biological components needed in order to have the brain, or for the mind. Right?
This is also cool. We need to try it.
Are you a dualist? I mean, do you subscribe to dualism? Do you think that the mind and the body or the mind and the brain are two different things? Right? Do you think that one is solely contingent upon physicalism? But the problem that I have with that is that it really gets into determinism. It's a hard determinism.
Yeah, I see. Right? I would say that you run into a problem. You run into a really large psychological problem, like in psychology, if you have a brain that's not experiencing any physical sensation. It goes crazy and starts making things up.
Yeah.
So that's things like when you go into what's it called? If you they did experiments like this in the 60s and 70s when it was still legal to do so. But if you go into those pools where you're just floating in nothing, and then they take all the audio away and they take the visual and you can't see, you can still feel the water around you. So that's the best that you've got. But if you were to take that away also, the mind does not do well. Those are considered very highly stressful situations for your brain. And I think the most that people got to back in the 60s and 70s was 2 to 6 minutes before the brain was they were starting to feel things on their skin that wasn't there.
The brain wants senses, right? The brain is used to having senses in order to
right. So I imagine
process.
You would run into some serious problems if you were to separate a mind or a brain, like a physical brain, from a physical body, because that brain would probably drive itself crazy in its solitary existence.
Yeah.
But hey, what the hell do I know? I'm not. We got to wrap up.
We got to start wrapping it up a little bit. Just FYI, we'll get into this in a second. We got a super chat real quick, but I wanted to point this out. That Feline says there was an experiment done on an action from the brain where the subject had to push a button. The intention to push it before the subject was aware and intended to push it. Yeah, that's about 400 millisecond delay, if I remember correctly. I know the experiment.
Your consciousness, you are the last person to know that you've made a decision.
I believe it was about a 400 microsecond. I remember the delay on that. The thing with that, though, is we're going to have it. We'll maybe next week we'll talk about hard determinism, soft determinism, compatibilism, and free will, because I have some arguments against libertarian free will. But to me, the universe is determinate. I do believe we live in a determinate universe. Okay, in other words, there's a causality, that as a chain of events that do exist. But I do believe that humans have the ability to have actions, right? And those actions are choices that we do have. But that's not libertarian free will. That's actually more related to compatibilism. But that's a whole ball game. But talking about the philosophy of mind, well, if you don't have substance dualism, right? If you think that the mind could be reduced to physicality on reductive physicalism, you have to accept, I think, determinism. I mean, hard determinism. I don't think.
Well, that was a thing that Hitchens said, isn't it? We have free will. We have no choice in the matter.
Oh yeah. All right, leave this off.
That was a thing.
We gotta wrap this up.
Exploratory Minds Project for 10 says, I think too often the mind's content if confused with consciousness, when it seems that the brain is the processor that delivers experience to the consciousness. Maybe. I don't know. It's all complicated.
I think the mind and the consciousness are synonymous terms. I don't really have a distinction between the mind and the consciousness. To me, it's the same thing. Because they both are where you're experiencing the qualia, as Daniel Dennett would say it, right? So your qualia is processed in the brain, in the mind, but your brain is doing the heavy lifting, right? Your brain is doing the processing, but your mind is what experiences it. But again,
I also did see
is the hardest thing in philosophy. I cannot even emphasize how difficult it is to wrap your head around.
As we're wrapping up, the people who so the person who Aron referenced, people from their group were saying that Aron was joking. I just wanted to throw that out there, and then of course the rest of the conversation happened, so we know that Aron was not in fact joking about his.
That's what I'm saying. Aron literally was arguing afterwards, right? All right, so he was. So, you guys know this. Our Lord and Savior God, Boolinator. I'm going to go to help. I don't go to hell for that. But Boolinator is going to have a hangout here, I believe, coming up in 90 minutes, give or take. If I'm not mistaken.
It's set to go off at 5 Eastern. And
it's about
about an hour and a half from now. It's going to be me going over a couple things. I'm not going to go real deep into any of. I know it says my perspective on the legal breakup, but that's just talking about the breakup of the Non-Sequitur Show, because most people don't even bother to ask me, and I figured I'll put something out, see if it helps, because somebody said I'm a troll, and I'm just a little bit concerned with that.
Well, I don't want you to think that I'm sexually harassing you, but I'm going to say go deep. Go deep.
Well, I'll go as deep as I can. Ilya Moon will be there. Ilya Moon will be there for moral support for me.
Well, I love Moon. That's a good choice to have.
I'll probably be in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Enter at your own risk. Enter at your own risk.
If you'll have me, I'll be there. I'll be watching. Keep an eye out on things.
I'll be listening, but
I'm just there to help.
I'll let people know. Boolinator, he talked to me about doing this, and my thing to him was, you do you, Boo. I don't want to give him any guidance on it, to be honest with you. I want him to be unabashed.
I don't want it to appear that I got guidance from him. I did not.
Yeah, I did. He did not. Again, people
I didn't know about this until I retweeted it.
And what I tell you, I think exactly what I said was, you do you, Boo. I mean, like, you tell your story how you perceive it. That's it.
Yeah. And it's going to be.
I don't need to tell you anything else other than that. I know you're not going to lie. I know you're not dishonest. I know you know pretty much 95% of everything out there, if not even more. I mean, there's nothing that I could probably tell you that you don't know. So if anybody can talk about these subjects, it's definitely you.
So as we're signing off here,
you know what's going to happen, Cheshire? Boolinator's going to go. He's going to go on his channel and go, I'm joining the McCrazies.
No, not even close.
We were like, he lost his mind. Yeah.
I can't even comprehend that as a thing.
My brain would. I swear that would probably cause me to have a dissociative episode.
I feel like Steve would probably just have a heart attack. He would just be like, I'm done on the internet. I give up. Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm done here.
I would have no hope for humanity at that point. Please,
I'm grabbing Bool's link right now, by the way. So if anybody we talked about a lot of stuff and a lot of kind of abstract stuff. So please, if you guys do have questions, leave them down below. Also, leave your opinions on what you think, whether or not, rocks, if we want to discuss what rocks think. We
I
also,
will have a
in talking about
conversation with those people, if they don't cut me sideways, but if they're like, hey Steve, Aron's right, rocks are atheists, I want to know your argument. And by the way, I will tell you this: if you start doing appeal to definition or semantic argument, I'm not going to bother with you.
Please also start noticing when people start using the terms can't and don't interchangeably. Thank you, Feline. She got it for you. I don't need to get that. Please leave your comments down below because there's a lot to discuss here, and we're going to have to branch off. And if we can get some direction from viewers about how to kind of explore this a little bit more, because there's a lot. Because you start talking about whether you know something or you believe something, you start talking about whether something is an accusation, a claim, or a fact, and then how you actually can determine that in a conversation. It is a large topic. Talking about communication is a huge topic. So if you guys have things that you want to know about, or things that you think will help you in your day-to-day life, whether it be communicating with your kids, your workplace, your boss, your whatever, please let us know, because that will kind of help us direct how to sort of tackle and approach this, as it's probably going to be very, very malleable and very fluid between subjects.
Yeah,
that's all for me.
There's definitely a lot of overlap. Yeah.
You can see me on Tuesday, probably tomorrow. No. Sorry, you will see me on Wednesday. Wednesday at 8 PDT.
And
on my channel.
I will be on Wednesday. Wait. You're doing something at 8?
Are we both doing something at 8?
I'm doing Pacific time. You're doing Eastern?
Yeah, you're Pacific time. Yeah. No, I'm going 8 EDT. Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm going 3 hours before you.
Yeah, so I'll be going after her. Chris Attlee, which is atheist pastor, and I are going to be talking about Trump's handling of the Covfefe situation. A little bit. Going to.
Have fun with that.
What can go wrong there? But anyways, let's wrap it up.
Nothing.
Hey, Bull, thanks for producing this. I hope your hangout goes well. Like I said, I probably won't be chatting in the live chat because I'm gonna lay down after this. People know I didn't sleep very well last night, so I do want to lay down. But what I do is I just put on my laptop and listen. But I've got 100% with you, buddy. 100%. I love you like a brother. You are one of the
I will
nicest,
support Bool in whatever he's saying.
Yeah, whatever he say, he can say, "Hey, look, Steve's a piece of shit," and I'm going to agree with him. It just.
I will also agree with him. He's got our full support.
That's a fact in it.
All right.
It does. Literally, Bool can pretty much speak for me on all matters. I mean. Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right, let's go. Let's wrap it up.
Later, guys.
Play Soma, Steve. Oh, troll! Bully Steve into playing Soma in the comment section. Bye.
Bye.